The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothes became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory, and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord. I believe. That's what Abraham said to God in that first reading. At this time in his life, Abraham has no children. And God says to Abraham, "Look at the sky and count the stars if you are able. Your descendants will be as many as them." When we read later in this very same reading, we see that this event happened during the daytime. So when Abraham looked at the sky, all he would see would be the blue sky and the sun. But it takes an act of faith, a call to believe, and he responds. He enters into a covenant with God. I believe. In the section right before this Gospel of the Transfiguration, Jesus asked his disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" And they take an act of faith in Jesus. They proclaim their belief in him. Peter, speaking for all of them, says, "You are the Christ of God." And then Jesus tells them something very surprising. He says that as the Christ, he will suffer, be put to death, but rise again on the 3rd day. Now, Jesus takes Peter, John, and James up the mountain to pray. They're still believing in Jesus, but they probably have a lot of questions. Why does he have to suffer? What does rising from the dead mean? When they arrive at the place to pray, Jesus prays. Peter, John, and James try to pray, but they fall asleep. And when they awaken, they see Jesus as they've never seen him before. They see him transfigured before them. They see his divinity shining out through his humanity. They see Elijah and Moses there with him. And they hear the voice of the Father. "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." This event had a tremendous impact on them. It helped them to continue walking with Jesus, believing in him. The season of Lent is a time for us to take deeper, more profound steps of faith. We're called to do in the season of Lent what we're called to do all of the year, to follow Jesus. And now we try to do with more devotion, so that carries over into the rest of the year. We try to live the gospel, believing, hoping, and loving. This is what Jesus calls us to do. He says, if you live for me and live for the gospel, you'll find your life. We're like Abraham in those moments. As we go through our Lenten practices, we don't see this life, but we believe. And that can be difficult as we make our sacrifices, as we abstain, as we try to forgive, as we are more disciplined in our prayer. It can be difficult, but we have help. The moments of prayer especially the celebration of the Eucharist, are our moments on the mountain with Jesus. And in these moments, even if we struggle, as long as we're trying, even if we sleep, the Lord will always wake us up to the reality of who he is. We'll see him more and more clearly. Our God who is always with us. Our God who loves us deeply. Our God who calls us to be his disciples. And we'll hear the voice of the Father speaking to us through the Spirit. Follow my Son. Believe in him. So today, as we go through this day, we ask Jesus to help each one of us as we walk this season of Lent and the rest of the year, that we say more and more from our hearts, I believe.